And it's Ken Kreitzer for CBSI Services Talking Business. We're at the Hudson Valley Direct Marketing Association, the holiday event, and a chance to honor a gentleman with a terrific career in direct marketing. That is Jeff Kobil, who received the Founders Award. Jeff, good to see you. What was the event like for you?
It was a terrific event. As always, that the Hudson Valley DMA comes out, and it was a great event, a great holiday, end of season, and I think the opportunity for the HVDMA to give back in terms of various scholarships. It was really, really nice.
Well, you got introduced by one of your colleagues from the Klied company, Rich Vergara. What was it like to have Rich Vergara here to introduce you?
Well, Richard and I have known each other for over 40 years. We've been friends, we've been business partners, and last year I had the opportunity to introduce Richard, and I think this year I asked him to introduce me, so it worked out very nicely.
Well, that's terrific. And if you would tell us what have been some of the highlights of your career in direct marketing?
Well, my career originally started on the client marketing side, and I worked for a company up here in New Rochelle called Longines Symphonette Society. It was either my second or third position, and Longines was the direct marketing arm of the Longines watch company, and it was an experience where I had the opportunity to work what I call with a number of people who certainly it was like working at the Harvard Business School of Direct Marketing. I worked with people who came out of Columbia House and Grolier and Time Life and all the big brands at that point in the late 70s and early 80s and 90s.
And Jeff, tell us a little bit, if you would, about some of the dynamics of direct marketing. I mean, a lot of us today were kind of reminiscing about when it was a family business. So many companies that were developing list companies and involved into data management, went corporate. What were some of the key dynamics that you've seen in the industry in your career?
Well, I think I saw the evolution of the list brokerage business. I think at one point, before digital became a big factor, direct mail was primarily the major source for publishers, catalogers, people who were using direct mail to acquire new subscribers, new buyers, etc. And that came out of the mailing list business. And I think the big change that I've seen is the availability of data and the ability to go out there and produce some very strong modeling opportunities where you can actually look at people who look like your customers. I mean, people are in Facebook today and they're enamored by the fact that Facebook does a lookalike model. Well, 15 years ago, there were data companies who were producing the same models based on real customer data. I also think the big change, and this is something that happened, I'm going to say, within the last 10 or 15 years, is the advent of cooperative databases. And this is where people contribute their own data. The data is anonymous. In other words, nobody in the database theoretically knows who their fellow competitors are at that point who are in it. And the co-ops themselves are able to provide both digital and direct-to-consumer modeling capabilities for acquisition and retention. And I think we see that on the consumer side in terms of direct-to-consumer, and certainly there's big growth on the nonprofit side.
Sure. Now, you mentioned a couple of the industries that you supported, publishing and nonprofits and fundraising. Are there any key clients that you worked with that you really remember being able to really have a great relationship with, serving their business?
Well, I was fortunate in that I worked with a number of publishers who stayed with me for almost all 40 years that I was in the business. I did a lot of work with Kiplinger. I did a lot of work with U.S. News and World Report at the time, and I did a lot of work with a company that's now known as Bottom Line Health. It was boardroom at that point. But again, we had Time Life. We worked with the Time Inc. Publishing area. So they were all really terrific clients and supportive clients.
Good. Now, we talked so much today about data privacy, data protection, certainly a big issue on the internet and with some of the companies, Facebook and Twitter, that you mentioned, preventing data breach. What is the key now to protecting customer data?
Well, I think there's more of an awareness of the fact that the government, we see what's going on with California, we see what's going on with the government, that I think there has to be more verification that's going to happen as a result of what I would call third-party data. And that's the data that's not necessarily coming from the customer, but is coming off of ad networks, it's coming off of various sites where it's being collected. And I think a lot of the data companies, or the larger data public companies, and I say public because the consumers recognize their brands and the government certainly recognize their brands, are now taking a harder look on some of the data that they acquire. And they're doing it for, where they suddenly have teams of people who will review a mailing piece before it's even accepted as a client. So I think there's been a big change of data and third-party awareness.
Absolutely. Now, we had some young professionals here today who had made a mark already in their careers in this field in digital marketing. We had some students here also from 3 area universities. Is there an area that you'd really recommend young people look at as a growth area within this field that they should take a look at for their careers?
Well, I think you have to, a good guideline for that is taking a look at some of the major universities and the commitment they've made to data and analytics and research and so forth. And I think sometimes we fall into thinking that data is only for marketing, but there's a big opportunity on the health side where a lot of data is being collected. And I think if I was looking at an opportunity for someone, I would say certainly to be involved with a university that has some very strong data and analytic courses, and maybe even where there's a major in that, because I think it's going to apply to engineering, it's going to apply to the media side, and it's going to certainly has applications in government and on the health side.
Sure. Talking to Jeff Kobil, received the Founders Award today from the Hudson Valley Direct Marketing Association. Jeff, was there an aspect of your career that you really enjoyed, that really made it exciting to go to work every day?
Well, I think one of the things that helped me is I got a very strong foundation on the client side. In other words, working for several marketing-oriented companies that gave me the benefit of knowing, once I moved over to the list brokerage and data side, what clients are looking for. I understood the economics of their business, whether it's catalog or publishing or one-shot. And one of the things I remark upon today is that I think within the last 10 years or so, there's been a tremendous growth in what's called subscription box marketing. And when you really look at it, okay, and the terms that they use, this is the same business that was run 30 and 40 years ago by the major record clubs, Columbia House, Time Life Books. They're all facing the same issues. How much can I afford to pay for an order? They may use the term churn, but we were concerned with attrition and what you needed to do on the back end to keep a customer alive at that point and continuing to buy. So even though it's been rediscovered, a lot of the skills and the evaluation tools are very much the same.
Sounds like you're keeping yourself in the business. Is there a way someone can reach you if they'd like to work with you?
Well, I'm doing some consulting, and I have a true love of the business. I happen to like working with clients. I love seeing the changes and how some clients are adapting. But if anybody wants to reach out to me, my email address is jeffkobil7@gmail.com, and my telephone number is 516-695-2635, and I've done a lot of work with a lot of the big data companies, and especially have strong relationships with the various co-ops that are out there. Thank you.
Very good. Well, you are a tremendous resource and such a worthy honoree of the Hudson Valley Direct Marketing Association. You received the Founders Award today. Great to see you here.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Our pleasure. This is Ken Kreitzer for CVSI Services Talking Business in Greenwich, Connecticut.